Okay, Carl Munson here, and I'm pretty excited to be talking to this wonderful group of people, mainly in Russia, some in Portugal, and I've been recording recently. I narrated the wonderful memoir it is really, Kesha, the Russian boy, and the author is here in the middle of your screen there, Konstantin Voskresenskiy, whose name I think I've managed to pronounce correctly now. Konstantin, hello to you. How are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm okay.
It's so good to talk to you. It's great to talk to you. I'm going to mute a few people up because I'm hearing furious tapping of keyboards in the background here. So I will unmute you as and when. But Konstantin, it was so wonderful to narrate your memoirs and your subsequent book of poems as well. I wonder, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, really, as the star of this show and as the author of the books and the poems?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much for this meeting. Let me introduce. My name is Konstantin. My surname is Voskresenskiy. I live in Russia, in Moscow region. I work as engineer, and I'm author of a dozen books in Russian and a little bit in English. These are poems about love, about friendship, about life, nature, and etc. And also, it is prose about my adventures for 35 years.
Excellent. So much of your life embodied and illustrated in the book and in the poems there. If I can ask you before we go to the rest of the team, because this was a real team effort, how we did this. None of us, well, some of you have met in person, but I voiced the book here in Portugal. This is the first time we've been together speaking on screen. Everything was done by WhatsApp and email, wasn't it, previously? And I think we did an amazing job of bringing together people from all over the world to bring about this incredible product. But what was it that made you think to publish in English as well? What was behind that step?
Could you help me to translate, Leah?
Да. Блин, что-то я тоже забыла русский. Типа, что стоит за решением публиковать книжку на английском? Типа, почему на английском?
Okay. My decision to translate this book appeared because I have to find my readers in the world. And I suppose this book about Kesha, about these adventures, will be more interesting for not Russian people, because my colleagues, my friends know this time, this history good enough, but people from another countries don't know about it, because we all live in different parallel worlds, and we don't know each other good enough. And I thought it is good way for exchange our experience about our worldview. So that's all. That's all.
No, that's absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I got a sense of that. It was a real education for me. I mean, it's literally the adventures of a Russian boy, and I got to find out, what it's like to grow up, certainly in your part of Russia, and see your experience there. And it was absolutely fascinating, as I'm sure other people will discover, when they read or hear the book. So maybe we should bring in the other members of the project. I mean, there are other people beyond this team here. There are some key people here today. And if you could introduce yourselves, that would be great. Maybe we go clockwise around the screen to talk to the people who are behind bringing this project together. Could we start with you, Leah Foden, and tell us how you were involved in the project?
Hi, yeah, of course. Sorry, I haven't prepared an answer, but here we go. Freestyle. I met Konstantin through a platform in Russia called K-Work. That's a platform for freelancers, so I often do translations and stuff through there. And Konstantin got in touch with me when I responded to his project. He read a little bit about his project. I responded to it. And then we started working together. We were deciding to work together on the poetry, but then it turned out that I'm not all that good at translating poetry. So he chose Elizabeth instead. But we stayed in touch and we decided that it would be great if I could also proofread his book in English, because actually Konstantin translated the book by himself from Russian into English. And I helped with the proofreading just to give it that kind of extra English sparkle. And then, yeah, from there we moved on to the poetry, and yeah, that was super great. But myself, I've got quite a random history in terms of my work, but right now I mostly work as a Russian translator, Russian into English.
Wow. And you're based in Portugal, right?
Yeah, I'm based in Albufeira now in Portugal. I used to live in Moscow and work as a government relations consultant, actually, which involved me speaking in English and in Russian at the same time quite often. Wow. But due to COVID, I kind of took a leap of faith and went into freelancing mostly as a translator, as I said.
Incredible. And how have you found this whole experience working on this project?
It kind of blew my mind a little bit at the beginning, because Konstantin did it by himself, the translation by himself. And as he often admits himself, his English is a little bit Ringlish, we'll call it, Russinglish. So I found it quite tricky at the beginning to get a handle on the book and really bring it to life in English. But then after a little while, I really started to feel the charm of it. And at the end of the book, Konstantin says that the whole point of the book is to make people revisit their own childhood and revisit their own stories. And that's exactly what I was doing as I was going along. I would edit a chapter and then I would sit for like an hour with my husband and be like, oh, I did exactly the same thing. I did that too. Oh, I had something like that at school. And that's what really kind of kept me going, was these little interesting adventures into my own childhood and revisiting those kind of special moments that I kind of forgot existed until I read the book.
Yes, and that's how he's done. How Konstantin has done us a service here, right? To remind us. I mean, to an education into his own Russian childhood, but also to make you think about your own. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah, me too. I was doing that. Thank you, Leah. Let's go to Peter now, who basically was my saviour in this process. There I am in the middle of the night in Portugal, speaking into a microphone, thinking, I wonder if I've said that right. And Peter was so sensitive and so supportive in sending me voice notes. Try it like this. You don't need to do that bit again. Do this bit again, but say it like this. Peter, thank you so much. Tell us about yourself and how you were involved in this project.
No, thanks to. By the way, I'm a sound engineer, sound producer, and we are colleagues too. I'm a radio presenter in Stavropol, North Caucasus. That's not far from the Black Sea. And when we began, I should say I know Konstantin a bit more than all of you, because we produced some more books in Russian with him before we started this project. And when I read The Adventures of Kesha for the first time, I felt like Leah said, oh, I did it too. All of these things were about me and about my childhood and about that was adventures of mine, because that's why that was interesting for me. About voice recordings, from the first time I've heard your recordings of reading of this book, I understood that you need some kind of help and that's why we managed to do these kind of edits, by the way.
Yeah, it was so helpful what you did. And we found a way of working, didn't we? We found a really good way of working over WhatsApp, and we were toing and froing the audio files. And I think we did it pretty efficiently, really.
Didn't catch. Leah, help me.
Хорошо сработало, в конце концов, вы работали вместе там на WhatsApp и нашли хороший способ работать вместе, несмотря на сложности.
That's really so. There are a lot of difficulties. They are not only language. You see, our smiles in WhatsApp are different. We just write brackets. You write the kind of face smiling, and you don't understand what our brackets mean.
Yeah.
But by the way, that was very interesting experience. That's a real story, not about only book, but about peoples, just Russians, English people. That's a kind of great collaboration, I think.
Yes, I think so.
And I hope the next book we will work with you, Carl, will be not so full with Russian names.
Yes. Yeah, hopefully it's not a phone book or something like that. Okay, brilliant. Peter, for now, thank you very much. Let's go to Liz. Liz, how are you involved in this? Tell us about yourself and how you're involved in the project, please.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm a little worried about it, but sorry for it. And now it was a huge experience for me, so useful and amazing. And I just searching for freelance network such a K-Work. And I just found Konstantin that has searching for a translator for this project, and I tried to translate some verse, and I tried to it and text to him, and then it was a very funny story because I had a big mistake, and Konstantin is helped me to correct it, and then he tried to deal with Leah and Peter. He discussing about me, about my part on this project, and then I translate 15 verses in this book, and it's very amazing for me. Yeah.
Good. So it sounds like an enjoyable experience.
What can you repeat, please?
It sounds like you had a very enjoyable and positive experience with this.
Процесс, рабочий процесс.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so amazing, and the most enjoyable part of this work was the native and the author's reactions to my work. And according to the team members, my translations of verses were really good, so I was so happy. But other my works weren't so well, and later we managed to achieve an excellent result. Every word, every opinion was important for me in order to work better. Also, it was so interesting to absorb a lot of new words and phrases. That's all, I think.
Oh,
thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. And maybe we should continue with that if we can come back to you, Konstantin. What was interesting or surprising or especially enjoyable for you that you discovered in this project, in this process?
To be honest, it was not simple because we have different mentality, time zone, language. but I'm happy. I'm very happy to have these books, audio books, electronic books in English. And to be honest, I think about translating these books into in other languages, but maybe it will be next year. I don't know. It is unusual story because on the one hand we didn't know each other, but on the other hand we have opportunity to have communication with each other, and we can do everything what we can. I mean, good, something good, like these projects. So
poor Chinese dictators who will read all these Russian names. Konstantin.
Peter, which readership was this? Which country were you thinking? Chinese.
Chinese. Chinese. Konstantin.
Very interesting.
I need to learn to speak Chinese, or we need another collaborator in the project. Okay, fair enough. So go on, Konstantin.
I'm already studying Chinese.
Excellent. Konstantin, did you want to add something? Sorry.
Mm-hmm. I would say thank all team, because unfortunately we don't see now another person from this project. It is Kristina Shlikova-Luneva, it is Christopher Fawcett. So, and I want to say thank you very much for your patience, for your excellent expertise, because I suppose we got good experience, each of us. And maybe our example could be the lesson for another people, that it is possible, it's normal, it's not simple, but it's very useful, and it is possible. We are not, we out of big politics, we are out of another not very good behaviors from our politicians. We are ordinary people, good, we have good behavior, and etc. And we can collaborate between each other. We can create something new, interesting for every people in the world.
Yes, well said. I mean, that to me is the key message and learning for me, is how, you know, I obviously as somebody who grew up in England, in the UK, and I, you know, I live in Portugal, I'm still in Europe, but I realized how many ideas about Russia I had that didn't come from people. They came from politics, and they came from, well, you know, the British view, you know, stereotypes basically. And it's been so lovely to relate to people, and not my idea of a culture, but people to people, and amazing what we can achieve when we communicate human to human, and we go beyond all of those stereotypes. That's been the most heartwarming thing for me. Leah, did you have something to add to that? I mean, anything amusing or it's a bit especially enjoyable or eye-opening about being involved in this, something that you learned?
Yes, lots of things that I'm not sure will come off the top of my head. I would say mostly from a kind of literary point of view is all of the little phrases, little kind of turns of phrase, or there's often footnotes in the Russian and the English text that say Russian proverb, and that's where I tried. That's kind of where I gave up looking for an English proverb as an alternative, because where I could, I'm not going to be able to think of something off the top of my head, but often there were these little moments where I would really like for there to be an English proverb to stand in for it, but you just couldn't always find the right words. And that was kind of the most interesting thing, is when I'm working through editing the texts, I sit there, I pause, and I have to speak with my husband about, what does this mean if, I don't know, Konstantin, can you think of any of the phrases, any of the proverbs, for example, in the text?
I remember you couldn't understand about licensed driver when I ask readers, should I explain everything? What was the next step?
Yeah, so there's a moment, for example, when Konstantin was about to lose his driving license. And in the Russian text, it says something like, then I was invited to the policeman's car to discuss some things. And should I continue? And I said, yes, you should continue. Because if English speakers are reading this, I don't think we understand that next comes a bribe, probably. Yes. I said, maybe. I don't think people will understand that. I was also sat there thinking, I don't know what comes next, asking my husband, like, Sash, what do you think? What is going to happen? And he's like, oh, for goodness sake, Leah, come on. Those are kind of the best things for me, where I realized that, like, I don't understand the Russian mentality as I always thought I did. That's why I'm kind of the perfect bridge between you, for example, Carl, and this book, helping everyone kind of work together and understand each other.
Yes, and that's a great example, and plenty more in the book. So definitely buy the book or hear the audio book to hear more of that. And an insight into the Russian culture and psyche, I think, as well, to be fair. Peter, can I ask you the same thing? What surprises or amusement did you discover in this process from your sound production point of view, possibly?
The most interesting thing for me was the way you read this book. Russian dictators don't make a lot of copies of one sentence, don't find the way they want to read. They know all things, and that was really interesting, Carl, for me. The way you read it. One time, surprisingly, then funny, then you were finding the mood of Kesha every time you read a new page, and that was interesting. I was ready for the collaboration, and we discussed the problem of Russian proverbs with Konstantin before starting this project. By the way, here's another example of different mentalities. English people say every dark cloud has a silver tone. Yes, Russians said "Нет худа без добра." That means that no bad thing is only bad. There are good news in bad news too.
Yeah.
Well, and that was interesting. What about language? I did all the things that was so amazing for Leah. About sound production, that was very interesting to work with you and with your reading of this book.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, likewise. I mean, I imagined I was in the Pixar studio, when you're doing an animation voice. So I thought I would do it several different ways, and one of them would hopefully be okay. So last question. Well, it's a kind of double question to finish with today. If I can start with you, Liz. Would you encourage other people to work in this collaborative way across borders? And what's next for you personally?
Is this question for me?
I'm going around to Liz, to Liz, and we'll finish with you, Konstantin.
Lisa.
Oh, sorry, I'm here. What about me and my next?
Yeah, I mean, first First of all, would you encourage others to work in this way? Do you think it's a useful way of approaching work? And what's next? Yeah, what's next for you in your career?
I think there are a lot of creative and talented persons, and of course I encourage to work in this way. I'm so glad to support people that love this activity, this poetry. Like earlier, your company, Konstantin, Leah, Peter, Carl, started to support me and gave me a chance to be part of that. What is next? It is best questions. I want to continue to cooperate with you if there is such an opportunity, or if there's a desire from your side. But about my future, I'm starting for translator linguistics discipline at my university, and I think I can deal with translations, but it is not the main part of my life. I think I want to be a freelancer and SMM manager maybe, but cooperate with French and English people. Yeah, I think
excellent.
so.
Well, good luck to you. And so yeah, shout out to all the English and French who may wish to be working with Liz. We'll put the contact details of everybody in the podcast and the video notes.
By the way, I and Peter were thinking about Lisa when we got your test text after first translation, and we asked Leah, did she want to invite Lisa or not? And Leah answered yes. Let she try to do it. And because Lisa today is here.
Yeah, it's because of Leah I'm here.
So Leah, thank you very much for Lisa.
We went through a few rounds of different translators for the poetry. There were a few different translators involved, and some didn't hack it. Some found it very difficult. Ooh, apologies for the sneeze back there. Some kind of failed, some did okay, and then Lisa kind of came in, and we know that she's a university student and perhaps not a super professional, but I really enjoyed the first couple of attempts that she took, and she had a really nice approach to working with us, very really enjoyed our feedback and so forth. So I thought it was really great to work with Lisa, because she was so happy to learn. It's a great quality.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Leah.
Thank you very much.
Let's stay with you, Leah, then there. And I'm guessing you would encourage people to work in this way, across borders, freelancing, and with this level of creativity that's really made possible by the technology. And what's next for you?
Yeah, I would definitely encourage these kinds of projects, especially, with Russians, for example, because it's not often that people in the UK or in Portugal, Brits in Portugal, would think, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to work with some Russians. That would be great. We don't have the best stereotypes, as you mentioned, Carl, back in the UK regarding Russia. So I really enjoy these kinds of projects because, they bring you to the heart of what people are about, as opposed to politics and the countries and the flags and whatnot. Yeah. For me, right now, I'm still working as a freelancer. What I'm hopefully going to soon branch into is actually creating my own company with a friend of mine back in Moscow. We're actually hoping it's a real change here, so hold on to your hats. I'm looking to go into interior design, actually, and work with just Russians on the Moscow market. That's kind of my passion right now. But I still really enjoy translating, and I'm always looking for more opportunities to do books. For example, there's one thing right now I'm hoping to work on another book. with another lady soon, bring it to the UK market. So yeah, a bit of everything really.
That's incredible. So translation, in a way, translating people's tastes and personalities into how their house looks, possibly.
Yeah. I guess I'm more creative than I thought I was. Maybe I don't have the maybe translations right now don't satisfy the visual creativity that I'm looking for right now. But the language side is so great. Yeah.
Cool. Good luck with that. Sounds really exciting. Peter, you and I, we created quite I would sort of border on a friendship with how we were working together, because I needed you so badly. That's how you make friends, right? Do you recommend this way of working? And what's next for you?
Next for me, I'll just continue my work, and I'm working with sound for some 20 years, and it's nice. I worked in a theater, then that became boring, and I understood that radio is more interesting. It's more dynamic. Things happens in radio faster, and they are more interesting. That's why I'm on radio. I'll just continue my working with sound. I write music. I do some production of audiobooks, podcasts, and so on. That's interesting, and I'm going to continue in this way. And about friends, yes, sure, Carl, you're not only my friend, I think, but is example for all dictators. I will tell about you to other dictators, just to show the way as a dictator should work, to make his work properly.
Yeah, thank you very much. Well, you're my go-to guy for sound. Absolutely. You're my producer in Russia now. Okay, it's official.
We'll try to make things with this.
Fantastic. So finally then, Konstantin, you are the heart of this. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It's your work, your creativity that has completely spawned this whole project and our collaboration here. Have you enjoyed it? Would you recommend it to other people? And where next for you? How many more books to come?
About first question, of course, I would say we live in very dynamic and business time. I would say busy and business time. And in my opinion, we should to remember about life. People are little gods, creatures, and we have to paint, to construct, to write, and etc. So maybe let's remember about it. Maybe we should do what is supporting for us, helping to life, to be happy. I think it's a main idea which I want to provide through this interview. And about the next step, at this moment I have produced a lot of books. It's dozen books, 12. So my next step will be advertisement of them and distribution. Objectively, these books are very good, to be honest. But I have to tell about them, to catch readers' attention and explain what is it indeed. And now I see it is maybe a more difficult task than writing, than production and publishing books. So now I'm opening another unknown door for me, advertisement. It's a magic world with different illusion and a lot of tricks, I suppose, either for readers or writers. So it is my next steps. And maybe next year, next year, after the next year, it would be translations. Two books about Kesha and favorite poems in other languages, but I'm afraid a little bit because translation into English wasn't simple. But I know English a little bit, and I can check something.
Yes.
But what I will do, what I would do with in other languages, I don't know how to check it.
Well, Peter definitely wants to lead the Chinese project, I think. And I'm guessing if anyone sees this around the world, if people can share this, it would be great. More human to human creativity, as you said there. You know, we are creative people, and it's good for us, isn't it, to enjoy self-expression and to share self-expression. So if anybody's watching this or hearing this, maybe in some other part of the world, you know, are you open to traveling and reading your books and reading your poetry and collaborating with people, Konstantin?
Yes, we are open if
We are
our minds are open.
Yes, amazing. Konstantin, thank you so much for making this happen. It's been a pleasure for me to be involved, and thank you for being here to do this interview today and say more about it. As we say in Portugal, muito obrigado. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, Carl, for your audiobooks and for this interview.
Absolutely.
Carl, would you like to know how to say thank you very much in Russian?
Obviously.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, the first word is спасибо.
Спасибо.
The second word is большое.
Спасибо большое.
Yeah, not bad.
Perfect.
На здоровье!
Now that's what I know. Okay, thanks everybody. Take care and bye for now. Ciao, ciao.